Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney on this Monday, May 23rd. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Here on 3 News Now, we bring you the stories that matter most to you. These are the stories that you are clicking on, reading, and sharing from our website and from our app. And we start today with a very upsetting story out of Cleveland. A 14-year-old girl was hit by a bullet and died this morning. Now, we have very little details at the time, but what we do know from Cleveland police is that some sort of vehicle pulled into the driveway at 9707 Columbia Avenue, and that was late last night, early this morning, and someone inside that vehicle fired gunshots into the home at that address, and one of those gunshots struck a 14-year-old girl who was sleeping in bed. And when authorities got there, just around midnight this morning, she had already passed away. The mother of the child and 3 other children who were at the home have not been injured. Of course, this is a developing story, and the police are looking for more information. It is ongoing. If you do have any information about this, police are asking that you call investigators at 216-623-5464, and also tips can be made anonymously. We have that linked on WKYC.com. Any information provided could result in a cash reward for up to $5,000 if it leads to information that helps bring the people responsible to this to justice. Now, in more news related to the Cleveland Browns acquiring quarterback Deshaun Watson, who is facing 22 civil lawsuits for sexual harassment and misconduct allegations, HBO Real Sports will be airing interviews with some of the people who have accused Deshaun Watson of that sexual misconduct. That'll be happening tomorrow at 10 p.m. This will be some of the women's first times speaking on a national stage, the first ever national TV interview for the people who are accusing Deshaun Watson of the sexual misconduct. And this is since the Browns had signed him to a record-breaking $230 million contract. So what they are expected to talk about is detailing the allegations of abuse that they are saying Deshaun Watson committed against them, and also responding to that record-breaking $230 million contract. So again, it will premiere on HBO platforms at 10 p.m. on Tuesday. Now, this is 2 months after the Browns acquired Watson in that trade from the Houston Texans. Reminder that Deshaun Watson did sit in front of 2 grand juries, and those 2 grand juries decided not to pursue criminal charges against Watson. He does still face the 22 civil lawsuits for the sexual misconduct, and also could be punished by the NFL, and that's pending the results of its own investigation. So it's important to note here that the NFL discipline that could come down is independent of any criminal or civil liability, and that is something that is within the NFL's purview. Now, Watson did admit, we did find out earlier this month, that one of those massage sessions with the people who have accused him of the sexual misconduct did end with the woman in tears. That's according to a leaked partial transcript from depositions, which are sworn testimony in the cases. Deshaun Watson met with NFL investigators last week, and many are saying they believe that's one of the final steps in the league's investigation. Watson so far has completely maintained his innocence, and so does his attorney on his behalf. His attorney is Rusty Hardin, and he recently went on the Between the Lines podcast that came out today. And he says that he believes what he is calling bad publicity will make it difficult for the NFL to publicly absolve Deshaun Watson. He said that he has always assumed all the publicity and everything, that's going to be very hard for the NFL to have, quote, the courage to do what I think should be done, which is no finding, meaning no finding of misconduct. He said that all remains to be seen sometime this summer. Now, he went on to say that he believes that there are more steps remaining in the investigation for the NFL, and he believes it'll be sometime this summer that that finding is made public to people, and that investigation is drawn to its conclusion. Now, here's the thing. If the league does issue a suspension for Watson, he could appeal to an independent arbitrator. Now, that is not something that has happened under the league's current collective bargaining agreement, but it could happen. So that is possible depending on what kind of discipline, if any, the NFL hands down for Deshaun Watson. Now, if you've been driving around in the Cleveland area at all, particularly in the summer, you might have noticed people riding four-wheelers, ATVs, things like that. Sometimes they're riding them in a pretty dangerous manner, and these things aren't street legal vehicles. So the city of Cleveland is partnering with local and state officials to crack down on this thing, and it's called Operation Wheels Down Cleveland. So this is a partnership with the city, the Cleveland Division of Police, and the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office and the Ohio State Highway Patrol, and the goal is to stop, cite, and arrest people who are riding these non-street legal vehicles illegally and to get rid of the vehicles that are associated with these traffic stops. Now, Saturday was the first day. Big results on Saturday. There were 15 felony arrests, 30 citations, and 15 confiscated vehicles, which they later found out were 2 recovered stolen ATVs. So if you see this happening, citizens are encouraged to report this to law enforcement. If it's an emergency, dial 911. But if it is something less of an emergency and you're trying to stop illegal operation of these off-road activities, you can call 216-621-1234, and cash rewards might be available. You can call anonymously Crime Stoppers at 216-25-CRIME as well. Now on the health front, this is important information here for the Northeast Ohio area. The CDC is now listing Ashtabula and Lorain counties as high levels of COVID-19. So what that means is that masks are recommended for all people in indoor public spaces. Now, these are recommendations. They are not requirements, but the backstory to all of this is that COVID-19 cases in Ohio have been rising for weeks, and now we're starting to see the effects of that on the community at large. Now, so according to the CDC guidelines, Ashtabula and Lorain being categorized as high community levels of COVID-19, that's the first time this has happened in months in any part of the state. So what happens here is, based on the new CDC guidelines, new hospital admissions are now helping determine if doctors recommend face coverings or not, especially in counties where infections are under 200 infections per 100,000 residents, okay, per capita over the past week. Well, in Ashtabula and Lorain counties, those regions reported more than 200 new COVID cases per capita per 100,000 residents. That's what that means over the last 7 days. So the threshold for new hospitalizations then drops to 10 instead of the usual 20 per capita. So that's why Ashtabula and Lorain counties are in this high categorization right now. So what that means is that people who are immunocompromised or who have close contact with people who are immunocompromised are advised to avoid high-risk gatherings and, if possible, and also wear those masks in indoor settings. Now, to take the story further, 8 other Northeast Ohio counties are now at the medium risk for COVID-19. That does include Cuyahoga County, also Erie, Geauga, Hurane, Lake, Mahoning, Portage, and Trumbull. So we will be keeping an eye on that, and we will bring you more information and keep you updated as it becomes available. Something you might have been hearing about online is monkeypox. I know it was trending on Twitter last week, and President Joe Biden talked about it today. He's trying to calm concerns after recent cases of monkeypox have been identified in Europe and the U.S. He says he doesn't see the need to institute strict quarantine measures. He was talking in Tokyo, and this was a day after he said the virus was something to be concerned about. He's now saying, clarifying, I just don't think it rises to the level of the kind of concern that existed with COVID-19. Now, monkeypox, which is related to smallpox, it's rarely identified outside of Africa, but on Friday there were 80 confirmed cases worldwide and at least 2 in the U.S., another 50 suspected. On Sunday, there was 1 presumptive case of monkeypox being investigated in Broward County, that's in South Florida. State officials said it appeared to be related to international travel. It belongs to the same virus family as smallpox, but its symptoms are actually milder than symptoms for smallpox, and people usually recover within 2 to 4 weeks without having to be hospitalized. But occasionally monkeypox can be deadly. To date, however, no one has died in this outbreak. So what monkeypox typically causes is fever, chills, a rash, and lesions. That can be on your face. That can also be in the genital area. And there are smallpox vaccines available for this, and also antiviral drugs that are being developed. It's fatal for 1 in 10 people. That's according to the World Health Organization estimates. So British health officials are looking at whether this disease is being sexually transmitted, and they've asked doctors and nurses to be on the lookout for potential cases. But they are saying that the risk to the general population is low at this time. So President Biden said that the smallpox vaccine works for monkeypox, and he was asked whether the U.S. has enough of that to handle it if monkeypox spread becomes a problem. And he says that he does think that the U.S. has enough to deal with the likelihood of a problem. In other overseas news, a Russian soldier has pleaded guilty to killing a civilian and has been sentenced by a Ukrainian court to life in prison. That is the maximum. So this is the first war crimes trial that we are seeing out of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Now, there are signs that Russia may in turn put on trial some of the captured fighters who held out at Mariupol's steelworks areas. The person, the Russian sergeant, pleaded guilty and testified that he shot a 62-year-old man after being ordered to do so because an officer reportedly told him that the man could pinpoint their location. There were some reports that this man was on the phone and not armed. So the 21-year-old sentenced to life now for killing that person, and he pleaded guilty and apologized to the man's widow in court. Ukrainian prosecutors are investigating thousands of potential war crimes. Russian forces in Mariupol bombed a theater where civilians were sheltering and also struck a maternity hospital. We talked about those reports weeks ago. So this is in the wake of Moscow's withdrawal from around Kyiv weeks ago. Mass graves were also discovered and streets where there were bodies on those streets. So again, thousands of potential war crimes being investigated in Ukraine. And in a rare public expression of opposition to the war from one of Russia's elite, a veteran Kremlin diplomat resigned and sent a letter to foreign colleagues and said of the invasion that he has never been so ashamed of his country as he was on February 24th. Starbucks is also pulling out of Russia. They're the latest company to do so. There will be 130 stores closing in the area. Now, Starbucks said it will keep paying its close to 2,000 Russian employees for 6 months and help them find other jobs. These particular Starbucks are owned and operated by the Alshaya Group. That's a Kuwait-based franchise operator. Seattle-based Starbucks had already suspended all business activities in Russia. That was back on March 8th due to the invasion of Ukraine. Now, here's something you might have seen floating around on social media. There's lots of talk of people quitting their jobs, changing their jobs in this world that we are now living in. That's not quite post-pandemic, but it's not the severity of the situations that we were in at certain points. And there's conversation about whether you are legally required to give 2 weeks notice to a job. And the answer to that question from our Verify team and from a legal perspective, no, you are not legally required to give 2 weeks notice to quit a job, but there are lots of reasons that people do. Some of those reasons are being able to keep certain benefits and also being paid out for example, for unused vacation days. But in most of the country, except for Montana, most employees are considered at will. That means you can quit at any time. Your employer can fire you at any time. There are certain exceptions to at-will employment if you're on a specific contract that's covered by a union, for example. And so pay attention to that if you have a specific contract with a start and end date. But by and large, for the most case, you do not legally have to give a 2-week notice to your employer. And congratulations are in order for the finishers of the Union Home Mortgage Cleveland Marathon. That was on Sunday. Also the half marathon. There were also 5K and 10K races. Congratulations to everyone who got out and finished any type of race. And a special congratulations to Lakewood native Jeremiah Fitzgerald, who was the overall champion for the second year in a row with a time of 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 3 seconds for the full marathon, the full 26.2 miles. A little bit slower of a time than he had last year, but still the winning time, and more than 7 minutes clearer than the second place finisher, Josh Baker of Solon. Now, for the women's competition, Hudson's Ashton Swinford won with a time of 2 hours, 46 minutes, and 46 seconds. If all the times had been lumped together, she was faster than all but 4 of the male competitors. So 5th overall, first for the women, and a full 2 minutes ahead of the second place female finisher, which is Marcy McAdams of Maslin. And Pittsburgh Joe Westrick won the half marathon at 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 59 seconds, and Jacqueline Range of Westlake won the women's half marathon at 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 5 seconds. Congratulations to everyone. I hope some of you are treating yourselves to maybe some ice cream today, and if you're doing that, you can do that downtown at Heinen's, because the new Mitchell's location in the Heinen's Rotunda is officially open for business. Yes, you could get pints of Mitchell's there before at the grocery store, but now you can get yourself a Mitchell's ice cream cone or a cup or whatever you like of your favorite flavor while you're shopping. So you can have that snack and have it for, some extra fuel while you're getting that shopping done. They also have vegan-friendly options, which I am learning today. They've got Buckeye chocolate and salted caramel pecan, which are all vegan-friendly if you would like some vegan ice cream. So you can check that out downtown. And something as a reminder that you can check out on Wednesday in the Flats is the Stepdads of Galway Irish cover band. That is with the lead singer and lead guitar player, our very own Mike Polk Jr. It's a party for a purpose benefiting blood cancer patients. That's at Welcome to the Farm in the Flats on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. with the show starting at 7:30. Check it out. We've got the details on WKYC.com. There's a $10 minimum donation required to get in the door, and then you can hang out all night. And proceeds from food and drink, and all of the proceeds from the $10 donation to get in the door, more if you would like, but that's the minimum donation. That goes to the charity, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So hope to see you there on Wednesday if you're around in the Flats area. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Monday, May 23rd. I will see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.